I was approached by Jim Booth, who was working for the Department of Internal Affairs, and he told me about an initiative to start a film commission. And I didn't have any background about what film commissions were about, but he said it was modelled pretty much on what Australia had done, and Australia had started to produce some really substantial feature films. And the job was to help create a film commission, and what had already been started was an interim body, and Bill Sheet, John O'Shea and Davina Whitehouse and people like that operated an interim film commission which main job was to get a film commission started. But I'm not quite sure how it happened, but government gave some initial funding so that before the commission was even formed, it could start business and go into business, developing projects and hopefully making films. And that's what we did. Because there were no sophisticated financial producers around, I soon realised that the way to get things going was to actually be quite active in the whole process of mounting these early productions. And that's what the Film Commission did. And the commissioners, the John O'Sheas, Bill Sheets, Davinas, etc., behind the scenes, they were all very supportive, and we all worked very much together. There was a body of talent and experience existing in New Zealand at the time. Jeff Murphy, Roger Donaldson, etc., these sort of people. And so most of these people had somewhere in their repertoire a feature film idea, or in some cases script. And so films went into production pretty much straight away. Now, but the Film Commission didn't have a lot of money, and so our whole approach was to not to 100% finance films, or even to be the producer. I mean, John O'Shea was very, very very strong on that. He said, you mustn't be the super producer. This organisation has got another way of fitting into something that's hopefully will grow. And so, as a kind of a rule of thumb, it was that we would try not to finance more than about 50% of the cash cost of any movie. The films that were made, like Beyond Reasonable Doubt, Goodbye Pork Pie, Son's Return Home, these films had less than half the money put up by the Film Commission. The other money came from private investors and from contras and sponsorship. I was at the Commission for about 3.5 years, and then when I left, I co-produced Utu with Jeff Murphy, and we'd built up a very good relationship on Goodbye Pork Pie, where I had been effectively an executive producer and introduced the private investment to Goodbye Pork Pie. With Utu, Jeffrey asked me to look after the financial side and the resources side of the picture, so that he could concentrate on the creative side. And so it was sort of in a business sense, it became, history made it, it's like my project, where it was Jeffrey's film. And the thing about Utu was, it was very ambitious and a much bigger production. We'd been making films as an industry, $300,000 to $400,000 budgets, top. This was many times more expensive than that, and it needed, and Jeff's ambition was to make it a big, rather magnificent production. And it was flamboyant and massive, actually. Goodbye Pork Pie's release on the New Zealand market was really exciting, and it basically worked from the first time it was shown in the Majestic, and it just went through the roof, and it was great. And we really felt that Utu might do the same sort of business. Now, it didn't. It did respectable business, but it had a bit of bad luck. And one of the reasons, I think, well, this is the sort of thing you've got to contend with in this business of film, is that one of our sponsors was Radio New Zealand, but the Radio New Zealand film reviewer really disliked the film. And so a shocking review of Utu went syndicated right throughout the country, you know, from day one. Well, that didn't help. And Nicholas Reed didn't like it at all, and you know, various certain influential people didn't like it because of its, well, maybe it's the timing, maybe they'd like it if they saw it today, I'm not sure. But at any rate, that sort of thing happens. And so then we had to concentrate on how to market it internationally. And it had great reviews and reception in Cannes, but we couldn't seem to attract any decent distribution deals. But finally we got one, and that was in France, where Gaumont, the oldest and most established film distribution and production company in the world, took Utu's distribution for France. And here again we suffered bad luck. The day that the film was released in France, with 26 prints in 2 versions, the original version in English and the dubbed version in French, France won the European Cup, football. And at the same time, in this particular summer season, it was the worst. John O'Shea has told you the story, I think, about the European Cup and France winning and no one going to the movies. But it wasn't just that. There was a heat wave in Europe that year and no one went to the movies. It was just, Romancing the Stone was the only film that did any business in Paris over the whole of that summer. So that's sometimes overseas markets don't work in the way you want them to work. But I think the Gaumont release was really important because it was treated by them as a major film. And that's what we always wanted to do, is if we treat it as a major film and the people who distribute it treat it as a major film, it will become a major film. We were very optimistic, and some people would say that, you know, far too optimistic. But in fact, when I say optimistic, that New Zealand could make films that were actually worth seeing, that New Zealanders wanted to see, and maybe the rest of the world wanted to see. And that it wasn't just an artistic and cultural indulgence. It was, in fact, an industry, quote unquote, in the making. Now, I think Peter Jackson's efforts, and Boy, for example, which is still in release today as we talk, are 2 classic examples of reality exceeding dreams.